Hello and welcome dear students. This is from 9th class Social Studies, Telangana syllabus, lesson Our Earth. Let's begin our first digital lesson, Social Studies 2020-2021. Now let me quickly give you the overview of the lesson. In this chapter, we are going to cover the topics such as introduction of our Earth, our universe, the Sun and the Earth, Earth as a planetary body, the evolution of the Earth, internal structure of the Earth, movements of the Earth's crust, the Earth's grid system, latitudes and longitudes, and the question of times. Our Earth. Introduction. We live on this earth along with millions of other animals, plants, and microorganisms. Human life evolved on the earth over 1 lakh years ago. More than any other animals, human beings have been trying to make the earth a better place to live in. We have been constantly trying to change ourselves and our surroundings. In this process, we have entered into conflict with other inhabitants of the earth and amongst ourselves. But above all, we have tried to understand the earth and our activities so that we can live a better life. For long, we have looked at the earth as a storehouse of resources. Natural resources like wind power, which comes from the wind, solar energy received by the sun, water resources, crude oil and petroleum, land resources, animal resources, natural gas, precious metal, minerals, rock, and forest resources, which we can exploit and use it at will. Because of this, our reckless exploitation of the earth has meant the destruction of forests, rivers, hills, fellow animals, and even fellow humans. This has resulted in what many are calling the environmental crisis. Environmental crisis like global warming is poisoning our soil, water, and air. From class 6 to 8, you had studied about diverse people living in different kinds of lands in different time, how they use the forest, soil, water, minerals of the earth. We will study about the earth as a large interconnected system. We will see how the rocks, soil, water, air, sunshine, forest, animals, and humans interact with each other and change each other constantly. Let's learn about our universe, the sun and the earth. For thousands of years, human beings have been looking into the sky and trying to understand the objects that shine there, the stars that remain fixed vis-a-vis, and the sun, the moon, and the planets which keep moving across the sky. What are these objects, and in what ways are they related to us? How do they affect us? Many people studied these objects very carefully, noting down all their movements and activities happening in the sky. They try to figure out what these objects are and how they move and work. As early geographer Ptolemy proposed geocentric theory, which means The Earth is in the center and remaining all other planets went around it. People also believed that Earth was firm and stationary and all other planets went around it. Since people's understanding have been like this for thousands of years, they also thought that the earth, the stars and the sun have been like this forever and will be like this forever without any change. But only about 500 years ago, scientists like Nicolas Copernicus came up with a new understanding that Earth is not in the middle of the solar system, it actually moves around the sun. Copernicus proposed this as sun-centered theory, Helio-Centric system, where sun is in the center and remaining all other planets revolve around it. And that the sun itself is constantly moving and the countless stars in the sky are actually like our sun. During the last 100 years or so, people have even figured out that the stars are born, they grow old and even die. Galaxies. Scientists have figured out that the stars are actually part of a larger group of stars called galaxies, and that there are millions of such galaxies in the universe. Now, they are of the view that our universe itself has started some 13.7 billion years ago with a big bang, and it may end several billion years later. Today, human beings are investigating and trying to understand these very distant and complex phenomena. To study to study all this, several spaceships have been sent into the space. Human beings have even landed on the moon. Space capsules have landed on the nearby planet Mars. Some have even gone beyond the end of solar system from Earth. Now let's learn about Earth as a planetary body. Like all planets in our solar system, Earth rotates on its own axis and revolves around the Sun. Now look at these pictures of the Earth, Sun and the orbit. Which one do you think is the correct picture? A. A circular path. B. An elongated oval path. C. A scaled oval path. The correct answer is C. Let's discuss in detail about figure C. Actually, the Earth orbit is nearly circular. As you can see, the difference between the Sun, the Earth's farthest point, is 152 million kilometers and the closest point is 147 million kilometers. As you know, the Earth rotates on its own axis and goes around the Sun in a definite orbit. Earth travels around the Sun at a speed of 107,200 kilometers per hour. At this speed, it takes 365 1/4 days to complete one revolution. We call this a year. You have studied in 8th class about the energy received by different parts of the earth from the sun. How these movements of the earth around the sun causes the seasons like winter and summer. Let's learn more about the factors which causes the formation of the seasons on the earth. The first one is the spherical shape of the earth. Daily rotation of the earth on its axis. the tilt of Earth's axis of rotation to its orbital plane, and finally, revolution of the Earth around the Sun. Let's learn about the evolution of the Earth. Scientists are still debating about how our Earth was formed. Most scientists are of the view that the Earth began to form around 4.5 billion years ago, and the Earth has reached its present form through several phases. It began as a ball of swirling dust and clouds and passed through a molten stage. At that time, the Earth was so hot and was constantly bombarded by massive rocks and other materials from space. Earth constantly bombarded by massive rocks, as you can see in the picture. In this way, the size of the Earth grew. The Earth was so hot that it was hot in hot liquid form, molten hot liquid form. Then the giant impact formation of the Earth and Moon system happened. Due to this, the secondary atmosphere produced by volcanic outgassing. Gases produced were probably similar to those created by modern volcanoes: H2O, CO2, SO2, CO2, S2, Cl2, N2, H2, and NH3, ammonia, and CH4, ethane. No free O2 at this time not found in volcanic gases. Ocean formation: as the Earth cooled, H2O produced by outgassing cloud exist as liquid in the early ocean, allowing oceans to form. It took a long time for the air we breathe to develop. As the Earth's interior continued to cool, it contracted and the outer crust wrinkled, forming ridges, mountains, and basins, low areas which become oceans later. The rain filled the great basins on the Earth's crust with water, thus the oceans were formed. For perhaps one half of the long span of the Earth's history, the planet Earth remained barren and lifeless. Then life appeared in the form of ocean. It slowly evolved into diverse plants and animals, including human beings over millions of years.